All right, so let's dive in. Think about this for a second. The late 90s, early 2000s. Telecoms. One minute, you're literally stuck to the wall with a phone cord, right?
Right. Landlines everywhere.
The next, bang! The internet goes absolutely nuts. Everyone's getting these things in their pocket.
Pocket computers, basically.
Yeah, ordering pizza, watching cat videos.
Yeah.
It was a revolution.
It really was. And that whole period in global telecoms, it wasn't just like steady progress.
No way. It was more like a mosh pit. Innovation, yeah, but also spectacular crashes.
Exactly. A mosh pit is a good way to put it. So today, we're going to really get into that, this gloriously messy time.
We're doing the deep dive.
Absolutely. And this wasn't just, about getting a cooler Nokia phone. It was fundamental. A massive shift in how humanity really interacted. So we're going to unpack the big forces behind it all. You've got deregulation.
The wrecking ball swinging at those old monopolies.
Yeah, precisely. Then the tech leap stuff that felt like pure sci-fi back then. And of course, the people, the leaders trying to steer these giant companies through, well, a digital Wild West, some with real guts, others maybe questionable judgment at times.
Oh, definitely. And we've got a ton of sources to back this up. We're looking at, a big overview of global telecoms from that time.
Yeah. Sure.
The usual Wikipedia rabbit holes, naturally.
Oh,
Plus stuff from Wired. They were right there on the edge. Financial analysis from fabricatedknowledge.com, 25 IQ.
getting into the hard numbers.
And understanding the consumer side, too, from Grace Hill, explorepopculture.com.
Because what people wanted was changing so fast.
And this great case study from ResearchGate on Japan and iMode, basically inventing mobile internet.
A huge story. Plus,
Yeah.
we've got academic takes from University of Edinburgh, Quick Read Magazine for the snapshots.
McKinsey & Company for the strategy angle.
Right. And importantly, we're contrasting all this with what was happening in Africa. That Icanet wireless story Wired covered.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, really inspiring stuff. Different world.
So the mission here, it isn't just like telling old stories. Right.
We want to really understand those key transformations. Pinpoint what mattered. And pull out the lessons, about innovation, about leadership.
Yeah.
Stuff that's still incredibly relevant today.
Especially, for companies and CEOs trying to navigate this crazy global landscape.
Exactly.
Okay, let's rewind. The 90s, you had these giant telecom dinosaurs, right? Mobile types, ancient.
Huge, lumbering monopolies.
Then suddenly this global push to just tear down the fences.
Yeah.
Deregulation.
The big idea was, let's inject some competition.
Yeah. Unleash the market. More players, more innovation, lower prices.
Yeah.
Everyone wins. That was the theory.
The U.S. Telecom Act of 96 was sort of the poster child for this, wasn't it?
Totally. That was meant to be the big one.
But here's the twist, right? It didn't always work out like that.
How so?
Well, instead of loads of new, scrappy competitors popping up everywhere, in many places you just saw the big guys get bigger. Huge consolidation. Mergers, acquisitions.
So fewer, but much larger players in the end. Often, yeah. The competition didn't always materialize in the way policymakers hoped. It wasn't quite the free-for-all envisioned.
Huh. So you try to break up monopolies and accidentally create new giants?
Kind of, yeah. Or at least enable the existing big players to swallow up the competition more easily.
Weird. And meanwhile, some places jumped in early, like the UK, Finland.
Too, yeah. They were sort of the early adopters of deregulation in Europe, setting precedents.
So what does that tell us when you try to shake up these massive markets?
It tells us that intentions are one thing, but outcomes can be, unpredictable.
Like squeezing toothpaste, right? Push here, bulges out over there.
Exactly. It really highlights the complexity. You use a smart regulation, not just less regulation maybe, to stop new giants just taking over.
Okay, so deregulation's happening, things are shifting. Then comes the party. The late 90s, the telecom boom.
Oh, yeah. Confetti cannons, dial-up screeches, dot-com dreams.
It was mania. The internet was this shiny new thing. Mobile phones were starting to look less like bricks.
And money was just pouring in. Companies were throwing cash at building networks like there was no tomorrow.
How much cash are we talking?
Get this, around $120 billion in capital expenditure in just 1 year, 2000.
Wow. Just building stuff.
Building infrastructure.
Right.
Laying fiber optic cable, putting up cell towers. It was like building highways for flying cars before the cars existed, like you said.
Right. Massive over-optimism.
And that's exactly it. That incredible, almost frantic growth sowed the seeds for the bust.
God.
Massive overcapacity. Too many companies built too much stuff. chasing the same customers.
Laying down cables next to other perfectly good cables.
Sometimes literally digging up the same streets. Yeah, redundant networks. And taking on absolutely crippling amounts of debt to do it.
Debt, that would make a loan shark nervous.
You got it.
Yeah.
The balance sheets were looking scary. Even the stock prices were soaring for a while.
And then the music stopped. Early 2000s.
Party's over. The bubble didn't just leak, it exploded. Spectacularly.
How bad was it?
Estimates are around $750 billion in market value.
Oh.
Just gone, vanished, poof.
750 billion. That's staggering.
It's a brutal, brutal lesson in what happens when hype completely overtakes reality. When that irrational exuberance, as they call it, forgets basic finance.
A massive cautionary tale written in bright red ink.
Absolutely. It's a classic bubble story, really.
Yeah.
Fueled by transformative tech, sure, but ultimately unsustainable hype. Shows that tension between big vision and, well, needing to actually pay the bills.
But, okay, amidst all that financial chaos, the technology was changing things, right?
Fundamentally. Oh, absolutely. That's the other side of the coin. While the money side was imploding, the tech side was genuinely revolutionary.
And it wasn't just the tech. It was us, the consumers. Our expectations shifted completely.
Totally. It went from, can I make a call, to I need the internet now, wherever I am.
That desire for instant personalized access, information, services, connection.
It was like a switch flipped, wasn't it? Suddenly being offline felt weird.
And Japan was already there. NTT Docomo's iMode, 1999.
Living in the future. Mobile email, news, simple games. On your phone.
Seems basic now, but back then, magic. Pure wizardry.
It changed the global game, showed what was possible.
And that just fueled the fire, right? Companies had to invest more in infrastructure, better services, just to keep up with what people suddenly expected.
Exactly. iMode proved the demand was real, and it was massive. It wasn't just the tech, it was the user experience, making it easy, making it fit into daily life. That was the genius.
Okay, so you've got deregulation, shaking things up, this insane boom and bust cycle, technology racing ahead, consumer demands exploding.
Chaos, basically. Utter chaos.
Right, and leading a company through that takes a special kind of person.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this era produced some real standout leaders. Visionaries, crisis managers.
Like who? Give us some examples.
Well, think about Lars Ramquist at Ericsson.
Yeah.
Early 90s, everyone's still focused on landlines, pretty much. Ramquist looks ahead and says, nope, mobile, that's the future. And he bets the farm on it.
Really? He shifted the whole company.
Strategically reoriented Ericsson completely towards mobile communications, mobile infrastructure. Positioned them perfectly.
Wow. That takes serious foresight. And guts.
Incredible foresight. It wasn't just reacting, it was anticipating. Making those huge risky calls that paid off big time. Made Ericsson a giant in mobile.
Okay, who else?
Thierry Breton, France Telecom. Now he comes in after the crash, 2002.
Okay, cleanup duty.
Big time. France Telecom was drowning in debt. Just a disaster zone.
So what did he do?
He basically performed emergency surgery, slashed debt relentlessly, focused on getting the finances stable, restoring investor confidence.
Pulling the company back from the brink.
Exactly. It was pure crisis management, not just strategy, but sheer grit and leadership under fire, steering the ship away from the iceberg.
Impressive. Any others?
Sol Trujillo at US West. He saw where things were going with high-speed internet and VoIP, voice over IP.
Making calls over the internet.
Yeah, and he pushed the company hard in that direction, even though it meant disrupting their existing comfortable business.
Cannibalizing your own revenue streams, that's tough.
Super tough. But he saw it was adapt or die. You had to embrace the new tech, even if it hurt in the short term. Position them for the digital future.
So Ramquist, foresight, Breton, crisis management, Trujillo, adaptation, different situations, but what's the common thread? What made them successful in that turmoil?
I think it's that ability to see beyond the immediate chaos, to have a clear vision.
Okay.
They were all incredibly decisive, willing to take calculated risks.
Not just sit back and wait.
No way.
Yeah.
And resilience. They faced huge setbacks but kept pushing. It's that mixed strategic smarts, financial understanding, and just pure courage to make the hard calls.
Right. Now, all this telecom drama wasn't happening in isolation, was it?
Not at all. The backdrop was massive globalization.
Yeah.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Borders blurring, trade booming.
Exactly. Global supply chains stretching out, international business exploding.
Which obviously means communication.
Needs it desperately. Seamless, reliable, global communication. So telecom companies that could provide that could expand internationally, huge opportunity.
And did they expand globally?
Big time. especially into emerging markets, Asia, Latin America.
Following the deregulation trend and the investment.
Yeah, liberalization opened doors, foreign investment flowed in, and suddenly you had this explosion of telecom adoption in places that maybe didn't have much before.
Must have been like a gold rush.
In some ways, yeah, but incredibly complex too. Different rules everywhere, different cultures, different consumer needs.
A logistical nightmare, probably.
Huge challenges alongside the huge potential. You had to be really adaptable, really understand the local context, not just barge in with a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay, so that's the global picture. But you mentioned Africa being different.
Radically different.
Yeah.
And honestly, in many ways, more inspiring.
How so?
Well, while the rest of the world was dealing with the dot-com hangover, you had these stories emerging from Africa of just unbelievable determination.
Like the Econet wireless story.
Exactly. Strive Masiyiwa in Zimbabwe,
Yeah.
fighting for years just for the right to operate a mobile network against the state monopoly.
Wow, against the government.
Yeah, legal battles, political hurdles, seemed impossible, but he persisted. A true David and Goliath situation. Wasn't just business, it was groundbreaking courage.
And they succeeded.
Eventually, yes. And it wasn't just him. You saw this incredible hunger for mobile across the continent.
The leapfrogging thing?
Precisely. Many places just skipped the whole expensive landline infrastructure phase and went straight to mobile.
Connecting people who'd never really been connected before.
Massively transformative. And you saw incredible grassroots innovation, too. Like people setting up shared phone charging businesses in villages in Kenya using car batteries.
Wow, really resourceful.
Amazing ingenuity, finding ways to make the technology work and spread, even with limited resources. It showed the power of connectivity, but also the power of local adaptation.
That's a powerful contrast to the sort of top-down megabucks approach elsewhere.
It really is. A huge lesson in resilience and finding solutions from the ground up.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, the deregulation chaos, the tech explosions, boom and bust, these leadership figures, globalization, the leapfrogging in Africa.
It paints a really dynamic picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you start to see patterns, connections to, well, to today.
Absolutely. This isn't just history for history's sake. Understanding this period gives us real insight into the geopolitical opportunities and challenges for companies now.
How so? What are the parallels?
Well, think about those deregulation waves back then. We could see similar market shifts opening up today, maybe driven by new tech policies or geopolitical realignments. Understanding the unintended consequences from the 90s is valuable.
Right, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
Something like that, yeah. And the sheer speed of technological change back then, with the internet and mobile. We're seeing echoes of that today with AI, biotech, quantum computing, stuff that could totally rewrite the rules again. The kind of adaptive leadership Trujillo showed. Even more critical now.
You have to be willing to disrupt yourself constantly.
Or risk being disrupted.
Yeah.
And the globalization piece. Okay, maybe it looks different now, more complex, more regionalized perhaps.
Yeah, geopolitical tensions are higher.
Definitely. But the need for companies to have a global vision to navigate those complex international currents, still crucial. The lessons learned from those early global expansions, both successes and failures, are gold dust for today's strategies.
So basically, understanding these historical patterns, the tech shifts, the market changes, the leadership needed, the global dynamics.
It gives you a framework, a set of tools, hard-won lessons for figuring out winning strategies in today's equally complex, rapidly changing world. It's about identifying those opportunities that arise from geopolitical shifts and technological leaps.
Got it. Makes sense.
Now, just a quick note. We put this deep dive together based on news reports, company statements, public records that are available.
Right.
We always aim for accuracy, but, the full story, all the behind-the-scenes details, often that stuff just isn't public knowledge.
Understood. Standard disclaimer. Okay, so let's recap the big takeaways then.
We saw deregulation aiming for competition, but sometimes ending in consolidation.
The wild ride of the boom and bust, a huge lesson in managing hype and debt.
The incredible power of technology to change everything, driven by shifting consumer desires.
The absolute necessity of visionary, adaptable, and sometimes just plain tough leadership.
The double-edged sword of globalization, huge opportunities, but huge complexities.
And those inspiring stories from places like Africa, showing resilience and innovation, leapfrogging old ways.
Which brings us to a final thought, really, something for you, the listener, to mull over.
Okay.
Given everything we've talked about, all that rapid change, the tech shifts, the market upheavals, what do you see as the biggest emerging trends and geopolitical shifts today?
Mm.
Where are the greatest opportunities and maybe the biggest risks for innovative companies and their leaders right now? And thinking about those past examples, what kind of winning strategies might emerge in response to this era of change?
That's a big question. Definitely something to think about. Maybe pick one of those leaders we mentioned, Ramphis, Breton, Trujillo, and see what they did next. Might offer some clues.
Could be interesting, yeah, because understanding that past turbulence, how people navigated it,
Mm-hmm.
it really is one of the best ways to get your bearings for whatever comes next.
Absolutely. Food for thought.